Hey guys, it's Ty, the real estate guy. I'm here with Dustin Zeller, the creative finance genius or specialist, whatever you want to call him. Anyways, today we're going to be talking real estate investing 101. We'll be comparing different strategies to one another. One of the biggest questions we'll probably end with this is I get people all the time who have rental properties or want to purchase rental properties, and we'll kind of explain why creative financing is a much faster, better route. Starts off.
I've been doing this for 15 plus years, and there's a lot of real estate investing 101 books and self-help and programs that are out there, realtors selling properties, you name it, it's out there. Matter of fact, most people are probably familiar with Dave Ramsey, who teaches a lot about purchasing real estate and why real estate is such a good investment. And I don't think we need to go into detail as why real estate is such a good investment. You've probably heard that a ton. And what we talk about is, okay, now that you own the property, what do you do with it? What's the safest? What's going to generate the most amount of income? What's going to make life easier? And more importantly, what I really like to focus on is what's going to put more money in my pocket so I can now buy again.
Right, Dustin. So they say real estate is the fastest, safest way to invest your money.
Yeah.
So what we've done, mostly Dustin, we've created a system that is the safest, fastest route within the safest, fastest route.
Well, let's talk about safest and let's talk about fastest and break it down, because I mentioned Dave Ramsey and I mentioned his program, and he talks a lot about living within your means, buying a property, creating cash flow, then helping that to buy you another property. And buying real estate isn't cheap. It takes money. If you go buy a $300,000 or $400,000 house and that lender tells you you need 20% down, you got $60,000 to $80,000 that you need to come up with to buy that property. And a lot of people watching this video might not have 60, 80, 100,000. If you've got millions of dollars kicking around and you want to invest in real estate, and it's very easy to do. But for the people that want to get started, that only have 10 or 50 or 40,000 down and don't want to buy one property every 5 years because that's how long it takes them to save up money. We've got a program that was taken from what I did investing with my own portfolio and figured out ways to grow it faster and safer, which a lot of people think is crazy that you can have those two things stand next to each other.
Well, Dustin, I mean, let's brag about you for a minute. I know he loves to brag.
No.
Actually, he doesn't. I actually don't know very much about his finances, but I do know how many properties you currently have. And it's hard to get more than 10 properties investing traditionally, unless you can pay cash for those or you've paid some off.
I remember when I got my 10th property, normally that's where you get shut down if you're in a very traditional format.
Right.
And we've blown that out of the water. That was years ago, and have a lot more than that, generating a lot of cash flow per month. And that's what finding somebody experienced who's done this before is awesome, especially if you follow what we do. It works out extremely phenomenal because we help you buy a property, we help you sell the property, and we leave you in the driver's seat. You keep all the cash flow. We don't partner up with you. We don't take half of what you're making. We don't do any of that type of stuff. And it allows you to grow your business faster. I have one client, he bought his first property about 1.5 years ago, and he's already got 4 properties. And it's not like he had hundreds of thousands of dollars kicking around. But following our program, he was able to purchase a property, get a large down payment from somebody relatively fast, and utilize that down payment money and the income coming from that property to purchase another one a few short months later, and then again a few short months later, and then again.
I do want to say this really quick. There are a lot of great real estate agents out there. I mean, there's some good agents out there for sure. But I think the difference, what separates us from most other agents, the system we have in place is going to help you grow your portfolio faster and safer. And I think that's what's different. We're going to coach you through the process, and we're here for you all the time. I mean, we've done 3 phone calls today, just this morning, talking to people who are either in the process or whatever else.
There's no reason to go reinvent the wheel. One of the number one things that investors want to do is make money. And traditionally with making money, it consists of cutting realtors out of the mix. And that makes sense. It really does if what you are doing is something you can totally do on your own. If you're selling a house very vanilla, very traditional, great. You can figure out ways to do that on your own and maybe save a little bit of money. With what we do, it's very specialized. You could try to go buy a house yourself. You could try to go seller finance that house yourself. There's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of things, a lot of growing pains that I had to go through when I started doing this. There's a lot of people that try to do what I do and find that buyer that comes in that has 10,000 or 20,000 down.
Yeah.
I would not put one of those individuals in my property personally. So why would I put them in your property?
We won't.
I want the people that have 50, 60, 70, 80,000 down. I've done deals with people north of $100,000 in down payment monies.
And Dustin, it's not just the down payment. That's the mistake I think a lot of the agents make, or people may try to copy what we're doing. It's the system we have in place that maximizes how much money you're gonna make per month, and it protects you more than any other system out there. I mean, people are missing multiple steps in this process. And I apologize if you're watching this and you want to be like, I got to learn the system. I got to figure out what they're doing. You won't. That's why we're here. We're specialists in that. And we're not going to share the secret sauce. I mean, that would be silly of us, right?
You come one of our investors, I'm happy to sit down and share with you what we do. Our marketing that finds these individuals is very specialized. It's very unique. And that's what sets us apart from everybody else. Anybody could find you somebody with $10,000 down that wants to buy your property on some sort of creative financing. How to structure it the right way, how to do it in a way that you're in the driver's seat, heaven forbid something
and
goes
the buyer's
wrong.
still comfortable.
Yeah,
moving forward with
figuring out the way the buyer's comfortable with it, but creating it in a win-win situation, getting a large down payment, 100,000, 50,000, 70,000 down. That's all what we bring to the table, and that's what really makes this secret sauce go. I talked about this briefly, and I want to talk about it again because some of my dear investors that I've worked with, that I've become great friends with over the years, came to me in the beginning not necessarily with $100,000 sitting in their bank account, with a pre-approval letter from a lender saying go buy an investment property, and said let's go. A lot of people that I've worked with are individuals who bought a property a year or two ago, put very little money down due to some owner-occupied FHA or conventional 5% down mortgage. Right. And fortunately, they got an amazing interest rate, but they're now wanting to stop living paycheck to paycheck. They now want to turn this property into a rental property, right, and move on and buy another property and get that owner occupied and live there for a couple of years. That's some of the strategies that Dave Ramsey teaches as well. And with our program, we can do a very similar situation. But now when you have that property, we're going to go find somebody that's going to give you a huge down payment. So when you buy the replacement property and move your family into this bigger home that fits you better, now you're more secure. You've got a huge down payment from the buyer. You're not in a risky situation. You're not fixing furnaces. You're not fixing water heaters. You're not paying a property management company to do that type of stuff for you. You can sleep better at night. And I've got people that will actually buy a house, live in it for a year, sell or finance it. Buy a house, live in it a year, sell or finance it. That takes a lot of moving. If that's something you want to do, man, the rate of returns on investment that I've helped people build have been infinite. If
you're a new investor, you're watching this, you're gonna get a better mortgage rate from the bank by buying a house for you to live in, right?
With a lot less money down.
You're winning two big battles there.
Yeah. A lender looks at you, and if you are non-owner occupied, they're going to require big money down and they're going to charge you a higher interest rate. Right. And if you go in there and you're going to live in the property for at least a year, and that is your intent, then you're going to be able to get in for as little as no money down, more likely 3.5% or 5% down. Yeah. But I've also done no money down programs with individuals who later on down the road turned their house into a creative financing house and now own multiple properties. I was getting into and talking a little bit about rate of return. Those people look like geniuses when they buy a house for $400,000 and put little to no money down, live in it for a year or two, sell it on some creative financing for more because the market's gone up, get a huge down payment. They have more money in their pocket than they did when they started because they put no money down.
And that leads into purchasing the next investment property faster. Just spoke to a very intelligent investor the other day. He knows his stuff. He's been investing for years and years. And I was trying to explain to him the advantages of buying rental properties, which is what he owns, to seller finance. So Dustin, can you kind of just cover a quick, I mean, I know a lot of you are out there thinking, I'm gonna get my first rental property and then 5 years later or 8 years later, I'm gonna buy another rental property. And I mean, why seller finance better? I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about why it's better than renting.
I'll give you an example. I have a client that has done very similar stuff. And a few years ago, we sat down and he was very apprehensive to do creative financing. He owned a lot of properties at the time, probably 7, 8, 9 properties. I don't remember exactly how many. He was struggling to collect rents. He was dealing with property managers on some of them, but not all of them. He wanted to manage them himself. He was just dealing with a lot of other people's problems. And he was making money. He was cash flowing. He had good low interest rates. He was in a good financial position to where he had a bunch of equity in all these properties. It was just headachesome. And what was very interesting is here he is with 6, 7, 8 properties, and he tried one on for size. He wanted to be very careful. We did the very first one of his that he finally entrusted me to find a buyer on seller financing. We took a property that was worth X. We sold it for $20,000, $30,000 more than it was worth due to supply and demand and the lack of properties like this on the market. We got a big down payment and we set it up in coast mode. He really wanted to wrap his head around tax benefits and how is this beneficial to him. And pretty quickly, it was like, okay, let's go. I like this infusion of cash. I like money in my hand, especially with the condition of the market. There were some question marks about it. And so we went and seller financed all of his properties over the next year or so as they came available, as tenants moved out. And he loves it. He's one of the biggest advocates that I have for this program, mainly because it put a bunch of cash in his pocket. It minimized his risk. It took all those headaches, replacing carpet, replacing paint, getting contractors to go fix crap and all that other kind of stuff. It took that completely out of the mix. He had a lot more free time on his hands. He had more cash on his hands, and he's subsequently gone out and bought multiple additional properties doing the same thing.
I took a rental property that I'd purchased only 2 years previous. I was making $300 a month rent on it, above my mortgage. And 2 years later, I sold it. The market had gone up a little bit, nothing too crazy. So I had a little equity, but mostly the advantage was I got my $80,000 back that I put down as a deposit. So I got the $80,000 back plus a little equity, and I was able to purchase 3 properties because we're able to sell the houses for more on seller finance, and I was getting money back each time. So I was able to turn one property, a rental property, into 3 properties. On those 3 properties, I'm not making $300 each. I'm making $850 on average between the 3 properties each. Hopefully you guys can start to see how much quicker it's rent on steroids, right?
That's really the reason why I ended up started doing this, is that, again, Dave Ramsey, he teaches really good theories and programs and teaches you to live within your means. I call him the rice and beans guy. Live very frugal so you can build a real estate portfolio, and then maybe later on in life you can enjoy your retirement. And it's a great way to go. I agree with that program wholeheartedly, with a twist.
Right.
If there's a way that we can infuse more money to minimize your risk, but also give you capital to build that portfolio faster, I have not found one investor that disagrees with that. Most investors that come to me that are 40 years old or 45 years old that want to retire by the time they're 50, I mean, most of them don't really want to retire at 65. They want to retire sooner and enjoy life. Why can't we invest wisely on steroids and figure out a way to make it go? The fun thing about the program is very rarely does anybody come to me and say they don't want to do it by the time they've peeked behind the curtain. If this is intriguing you and you want to learn more about it, call us, peek behind the curtain, do your due diligence, ask us questions, quiz us on the program, and I guarantee once you do your first deal and compare it to buying a rental property, to do that, just rent it, you'll be amazed of what this can do for you.
And just so you guys know, we've actually just recently released 2 other videos where we actually break down actual real deals for you, and you will be shocked at the numbers that we're getting off those. So I'm gonna put links to both of those videos below in the description. Plus we've done a couple other seller finance videos as well. We did one that's really in depth, it's like an hour long. But if you really want to get like a good feel for the program, you want to check that out as well. But Dustin, I have another question for you. One of my great investor friends who has a lot of rental properties says, well, on my rental properties, I can pay them off over 30 years. And so that's very vanilla, right? Traditional. That's the traditional way to do it. You buy a house, 30 years later, you pay it off and all that. But explain really quick to our fans out here, our friends out here, why is it better to not hold that house. I mean, sometimes in seller finance, we do get to hold the house for 30 years, and that can be great too.
I get this question all the time. A lot of real estate investors sit down with me and we kind of compare it. One of the things that's really awesome is, first of all, if you're in real estate and you're investing, don't push yourself past your limit. That's one of the biggest things that I coach. Don't put yourself in a predicament where you've put all your eggs in one basket, and if that basket changes, something's going to be an issue. We're all on the freeway. We're all headed towards the same goal. We all want retirement. We all want passive income. We all don't want to do a 9-to-5. That's why we get into real estate. Our grandpa did it, our uncle did it, our friend, our neighbor did it, and I want to do it too. There's different lanes on the freeway though. There's slow lanes, middle lanes, fast lanes, express lanes, and I always talk about
some people getting off.
Some people getting off. Those are the people that rented a property and had a horrible tenant, and they're like, dude, I'm done. I'm not doing that anymore. I've done that, and thankfully I didn't get off the freeway. I just found a better way, a way that works a lot smoother. And I compare my program and what we do to the express lane. I really want to be on coast mode. I really want an investment strategy that doesn't eat up all of my money. I want to be able to buy something, but I want to be able to get my money back fast. And I want to create high cash flow. I'm not comfortable with $300, $400, $500 a month in cash flow. The average deal that we're doing in cash flow right now that you get to keep 100% of with our program is north of $1,000 every single month coming into your pocket. There's other people trying to do what we do. There's people that have seen these videos, called us, and we can tell that they're trying to figure out our system and they're trying to take our trade secrets. Good luck.
Yeah.
These are not the easiest things to structure. I've done hundreds of these deals as an investor, saying, okay, how can I protect myself to, not get stuck in a situation where somebody doesn't pay and all of a sudden I'm not getting a payment and it takes me a year to get them out of the property. I don't want to put anyone in that situation. We've gone through the ringer. We've learned these scenarios. And if you come and invest with us, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we'll just make it easy.
So let's explain that really quick. Dustin, you just barely touched on it. If you have a rental property and you have a renter that decides not to pay, you legally cannot kick them out of the house even though they're not paying.
No, you got to go through an appropriate process.
And it takes months.
It can take months. It just depends on the circumstances.
What happens on a seller finance property if someone doesn't pay?
It depends. There are multiple different ways of doing a seller financing contract. If you go to Google right now and type in seller financing, you could probably find thousands, if not more, horror stories of doing seller financing the wrong way. You do it the wrong way, you can get in trouble really fast. You sign the wrong,
you lose
sign
the
wrong document set with those individuals, and you can paint yourself into an extremely tough corner. You use the right document set with the right strategies involved, with a lot of other additional issues that you want to address in your purchase contract. You can create a win-win situation for both parties that protect you. These buyers come in to these transactions wanting a successful transaction. They don't want the house taken away from them. But as an investor, we want to protect ourselves to make sure that if something goes wrong, we are protected.
And I think this is the safest system out there for investing in real estate. I don't even think it's close. I haven't seen anything else that protects the investor this much. And the best part is these creative finance deals that we're doing helps the buyer and the investor, or the buyer and the seller. Both people are getting a great deal and they're both happy. I just want to touch on this also really quick. I've actually had 2 different people reach out to me from other states and say, hey, can you guys help me in South Dakota? Or can you help me in Texas? Yes, we can, but not in South Dakota or Texas. You don't have to invest your money in South Dakota and Texas. You can invest it right here in Utah. So if you're watching this video and you're in California or Florida or wherever, New York City, we can help you right here in Utah. And guess what? There's no management, right, Dustin? Tell us about it. What do we do to make that easy on people?
You are simply the lender. And so it's very easy to manage if you live out of state. Realistically, all you're really doing is making sure the payment's been paid and that the payment's been paid to the underlying mortgage. We set them up with a billing company, and the buyer 9 times out of 10 pays for that. So don't worry about that expense. They pay the billing company. The billing company pays the underlying mortgage that you've obtained, that hopefully is at some mid 3% interest rate. And then they send you any excess funds. You want to make sure with your underlying mortgage that they receive the funds and that they applied it appropriately. That's your management. It's like literally 5 minutes a month, making sure the buyer paid, you got your email, and making sure your underlying mortgage got paid and it was applied appropriately.
A little work on your side of just tracking, make sure those payments come in each month. It's easy. If you live here in Utah, We'd love to meet with you. We can meet with you in person. We can meet at our office or your house, whatever you're comfortable with. We'll come meet with you. If you're from out of state and you want to invest in Utah or you want to invest somewhere, Utah's a great spot. We have a great system. We can do a Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever it is and explain to you how we can help you right here in Utah.
I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit here. If you buy an investment property and you rent it out and you get that $2,000 security deposit, you get first month's rent, you cut the property management company out of the equation because you want to make as much money as you can. So you self-manage it. Let's say you find a really good tenant. Let's say you've got a newer house that doesn't have any issues with it by way of the roof, the water heater, the furnace, and you start renting it. It can be a very good situation. I've done it. There's been multiple investors I work with that have done it. Ultimately, down the road, something goes wrong. They don't make their payment. Okay, what is your risk scenario? You buy a property, you get $2,000 security deposit from somebody, they're paying the rent. What's your biggest risk as an investor if that's you? What's the biggest risk? Is it them not making monthly payments?
Right.
Them not making monthly payments, that's an issue. I think your bigger risk is what if they trash it? I mean,
Right.
New cabinets, new paint, new flooring, new countertops, new appliances.
Good point.
It could be 20, it could be 30, it could be $40,000. That's a risk that you have as a landlord. And so you want to try to minimize that risk as much as possible.
And we do that with seller finance. With our contract, we have ways to protect your house if the buyer defaults and to get your house back quick as well. A lot quicker than going through foreclosure or trying to get a renter who won't pay out.
Well, and that's the big thing. And so, if you're renting your property, you have risk. If you're investing in real estate, you have risk. If you do seller financing the wrong way and you sign the wrong documents and you do it ways that I don't coach to do it, that person doesn't pay their payment and you go to get them out. It's not a 2-month eviction. Here in Utah, if somebody doesn't pay their payment and you're pretty swift and you call an attorney and you sick the eviction attorney on them, it's usually about a month to 2 months to get them out of the property. On seller financing, if you set it up the wrong way, if you do it the way that most seller financing transactions are done and they don't pay, you're not evicting them. You're foreclosing on them.
We've seen a lot of those deals done wrong. So
the very first seller financing deal I did wrong because I didn't know any better. Right. That's what brought me to learn what I'm doing now. My first seller financing deal I did on accident was in 2008. I had no clue what I was doing. I just found somebody that had a huge down payment. They're like, will you seller finance? And all I can remember is how much money they told me they had down. And I said, I think so.
So just so you guys know, Dustin's helped over 300 people invest in real estate. He has a 100% success rate of people being happy. Dustin himself has purchased and gone through dozens of properties on his own. And he's been able to turn those over and be super successful. I'm really excited. What I'm really excited to share with you guys is I purchased a rental property here in my neighborhood from one of my friends. I've had it for 2 years. I knew the market was going to go up. I didn't know it was going to go up like it did, so I decided just to keep it for a couple of years and collect on the equity. Now, the market's topped off, and yes, it'll probably continue to increase, for the next year or two, maybe 3 in Utah, but you can't bank on 30% equity in 1 year. That was last year. That has never happened before, and it's likely to never happen again. And so it's a good time to get out of that rental property and turn those into seller finance properties. So my goal, I don't know if we can do it, but we're going to try. I'm going to try to turn that one rental property into 4 seller finance properties. And that one rental property pays me over $1,000 a month. So if I can get 4, I'll turn $1,000 a month into $4,000 a month. And on top of that, because we purchase the homes at market value, maybe slightly less if we can, we sell them for about 10% more. So if I bought 4 homes at $400,000, I'll be putting $40,000 4 times immediately into my investments of equity, right? That's pretty amazing, guys.
It's a pretty amazing strategy. I get this question all the time when people are wondering if now is a good time. And I know you've had this question on a lot of your videos.
Let me just say really quick, I'm going to document that whole process for you guys. Do I get 3? Am I able to make 4 out of it? I'm documenting that. So those videos, make sure you ring the little bell to be notified each time we post new videos because I want you to see it happen in real life. But go ahead, Dustin, sorry.
Well, I go back to 2006, 2007, 2008 all the time because I do not want to relive 2009, 2010, 2011.
And most people did not see the market crashing, by the way.
So how has that affected us today? Well, let's talk about it. Even on some of the videos you've posted, you get comments all the time. I know because I've seen it saying, oh, the market's going to keep on going. Oh, the market's going to crash. And we're all trying to look at that crystal ball and to figure out what the market's doing. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, if you're buying a house on speculation for fair market value and your goal is to rent that property out and hope that it goes up $100,000 in value so you can sell it, yeah, you're risking a lot. If the market turns in that scenario, you're in a big risk position. The good thing about today's market that makes it hard to lose money is these stellar interest rates that are out there right now. You might not make as much money if the market goes down. You might tread water for a little while, still cash flowing a property, hoping that no major repairs come up while you're in that process. But with this program, the biggest difference is that if you're going to buy a property and you can get a huge down payment from somebody else with our assistance and write the contract the right way and put you in the driver's seat, you've now minimized that risk significantly. So when people ask me the question, is now a good time to buy? My question to you is, it depends. What's your back end strategy with this property? The interest rates are really, really good, but we don't want to buy high and sell low. Who wants to do that? If we can buy high and immediately sell with a huge down payment, creating huge cash flow and pushing that risk to the other person, that's what makes this program so key.
Good market, bad market, flat market, it works, but we're selling it right away and we're selling it for 10%-ish more than market value. So you're instantly putting that equity that you would gain over years, you're getting that instantly.
Equity is traditionally a number that just makes you feel good knowing that you're in a good position. You don't get any of that equity until you've sold your property. If you bought a property in 2015 and you got it at an amazing deal and you got a really good interest rate and you've got that 3.75% rate and you bought the house for $300,000 and it's now worth $500,000, congratulations, you did a great job on that. And if I bought an investment property today and I had that crystal ball in front of me saying, oh, the market's going to go up another 200,000, I would maybe shift my gears slightly different. But if you look at the curve of what homes have been doing, I don't think that risking the farm that it's going to go up another 20 or 30% for the next year or two or three, and risking my hard-earned money, risking the roof over my head and doing all that stuff, that's not a strategy that I'm interested in doing.
Well, now, absolutely, at some point, there is going to be a correction. You can't go up 30% in 1 year and not have a correction at some point. I mean, the market over the history of time has done this. I mean, there's corrections and there's runs. That's kind of what happens. But what's great about seller finance is we buy the house, we instantly sell it for more than what we purchased it for. It doesn't matter what the market does.
It doesn't. I mean, it matters what the market does, but I want to be the person in the driver's seat when the market has any kind of a change. And the biggest way that you can take charge of it is by getting a huge down payment from somebody and minimizing your risk and potentially using that capital to do more within your means. I talk about this all the time, and I know you're going to post a video. Ty's probably in a different position than a lot of people watching this. Ty can take one investment property and take the proceeds from it and try to turn it into 3 or 4 investment properties and not jeopardize his family's well-being. I never want to teach and coach an investor on here to live outside their means, push harder than they should, buy 3 or 4 properties, risk the farm, the market changes, you don't get a big down payment from somebody, now you're at risk. That's not what we're trying to do. We, as real estate agents,
professionals.
I don't want to even call myself a coach. I will teach, I will help, I will share information with our buyers, with our investors. We will help them succeed, but I want to do it in a way to leave you in the driver's seat, help you build a real estate portfolio, but not overextend yourself.
Yeah, we call it creative financing because every deal is different, but also every client is different, each one of our clients. So we're going to take your situation individually and we're going to figure how quickly we can very safely guide you through the process and help you pick up extra homes along the way. But if you're an investor and you have $200,000 or you have multiple rental properties or $400,000, you can get multiple properties pretty quick and once again be totally protected and grow your portfolio really quick.
And just talking about some average deals that we do, if you've got that $50,000 or $100,000 of hard-earned money that you want to put into real estate, we can teach you how to put that money down, buy a property, get a large sum of money back, minimize your risk as much as possible, and create a rate of return on your investment that tends to be right around 20%. Meaning you put $100,000 out, you buy a $500,000 or a $400,000 home. We turn around, we place somebody in there that has a huge down payment, assist with the paperwork, do all that kind of stuff. Now all of a sudden you're making on your investment after you get 50 grand of the 100 grand back and you're making X amount of money per year, you're probably going to make about 12,000 a year on a $50,000 investment. How many times does 12,000 go into 50,000? 5 times. It's a 20% rate of return on your investment. We've done it a lot of times.
Right. They say do what you're good at, right? You might be a great investor, you watching it, the show, or you might be a great whatever. That is the best seller finance guy that I know. I'm not joking. I'm not going to hold anything back from you guys. I trust Dustin implicitly with my money and with my future and with my investments. And you can trust us to guide you safely through and maximize your investment, minimize your risk, and take all that management. Who wants to manage this stuff, man? If you have 10 properties and you've tried to manage them on your own, I already know what you're feeling because I've had some rental properties. It sucks, dude.
Well, I'll take you back to my 2008, 9, and 10. When the market crashed, I had about 9 or 10 properties. And oh my gosh, it was rough. Not only did I see values that were once up here drop, I had interest rates on these loans and on these mortgages that were around 5.5%, 6.25%.
That was normal.
And they were tough to cash flow. So here I am treading water. The market's gone down. I'm trying to cash flow a property. Something goes wrong. The water heater's needed. A furnace is going out. I'm sending a guy over there. Oh, okay, good. It doesn't need a new furnace, but $300 later for a sensor or a motherboard or whatever. I had to deal with that. What was worse than that, somebody calling or me calling them because they hadn't paid November's payment and it's November 10th and I got an excuse and let's meet at this intersection and I'll give you the money. Okay, great. I'm finally getting the money for this month's rent that they were supposed to pay 10 days ago. And I show up to the gas station feeling like we're doing some weird cash baggy transaction that we're not supposed to be doing. And inevitably they'd show up with 70 or 80% of the rent and an excuse of what happened to the other 20 or 30% of the rent that they were supposed to pay and a promise to pay with next payday. I don't like dealing with other people's problems. And when I switched over to doing this system, I'm telling you guys, it's night and day difference. If you set these up the right way, not only do you get huge money down, but the burden of managing these changes significantly. You have to do very little when it's all said and done, and yet you tend to actually cash flow a lot more. Ty talked about a rental property doing 300 versus 850. I mean, a lot of these rental properties, we help people buy properties where they get a mortgage payment of $1,500 and fair market rent would maybe be $2,000 or $2,100 a month. Where because we're doing a creative deal and creating a win-win situation for both parties, they're paying $2,500, $2,600 a month and making it well worth our while, aside from the fact of giving us huge money down.
If you're a new investor, you have your money, you have your $60,000 or $80,000, you're all excited, you want to buy your rental property, you're looking here in Utah, give us a call. We'll come meet with you. If our system doesn't work for you, then we didn't explain it to you right.
And it might not work.
But it might not work for everybody. But that's fine.
It's not going to offend us.
We're not going to offend us. We want to help you. We've seen the advantages of this. We know that we can help you, and we do care for you. We care about our clients. We want to protect you. We want you to brag about us, tell your friends, and brag about yourself and how smart you were and how you did this awesome creative financing transaction and how you're gonna be able to buy another house in 6 or 8 months or whatever. We're excited to do that for you guys.
Well, I get calls all the time from a friend or a family member or somebody that says, hey, we want to sell our property. It's gone up so much in value. It's awesome. We've got all this equity and we want to buy this home over here, or we want to buy a new construction home, or we want to move on to the next transaction. And we'll analyze it and we'll talk about, oftentimes I'll go into these listing appointments where a real estate agent is just going to list your house and then help you buy another house. And I'll say, hey, have you thought outside the box and thought about something like this? And for some clients, it doesn't fit. For some of them, they don't want to be a real estate investor. And sometimes they're like, well, I've thought about this. How would that work with mine? In fact, this just happened with a gentleman in my neighborhood as we sat down and we started talking numbers and started talking about, hey, I could probably sell your house on the high side of the comps, if not more. I could create cash flow for you that's probably north of $1,000 a month.
Right.
And we start spelling it out. All the questions come up. This sounds too good to be true. Is this really what it's all about? And I mean, if you already own a property and you want to upgrade to something else, oh my goodness, come and talk with us. There are aspects of very easily finding a creative financing buyer for that property assisting you to get into that next property in a very hands-off transaction that creates more income and sells for a higher dollar than the normal way.
In my story, I posted that video like a week ago. We probably made $50,000 more selling our house through Dustin's seller finance. That was my first seller finance transaction. You can sell the house traditionally, but our system can literally make you tens of thousands of dollars more than a traditional sale.
It can be phenomenal.
So guys, I just want to thank you for watching. Please, if you found the information useful, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and ring the little bell to be notified each time we post new videos. We'll catch you next time.